Hello everyone, my name is Kimberly Carey. I'm the owner of So Sassy Stitcher here in Northwest Arkansas. I am starting on this Cali Mixer wall hanging that I had seen for one of Judy's conferences that she did in Boise, Idaho, and they hadn't put the kits out yet after that class section. So finally, Stitch and Snip got it put out, and this is a kit from Stitch and Snip in Garden Valley, Idaho. And so that's what we're working on today. And I was just going to walk through the initial steps with you. So their kits have become a little bit different with their instructions and how they're putting things together. So what I'm noticing is that they are having pieces, blocks, that they are then reusing in other quilts. Okay. And so their instructions are, this one is actually for the instructions, it says kaleidoscope. And I think it's a version of the kaleidoscope. Okay. But then you get into it, and like I have 3 cactus flower stars. Okay. I have 3 of those kits because I'm doing each one of these makes 8. Well, I need 24 of those. Okay, so you're gonna see multiples of things. This one also came with the lily. I believe I had 2 of those. This one is fairly simple. It's really not made up of that many blocks. I think it's 1, 2, 3 blocks that we're doing. Okay, so not very much at all. But we're doing multiples of those. And so we just want to make sure that we are following the directions the way that they need to. Now, with that, it's not going to be quite as specific in our generic list. It's going to give you all of their general information, how to do the paper piecing, how to lay out the templates, things like that, how to read their instruction manuals, and then how to put it together. And so really what you're going to look at is you're going to look at the individual pieces. So, I have 3 of these cactus ones. I can put 2 aside. I'm still going to prepare the papers the same, okay? So I'm still cutting out all of the papers, all of that. I may not use all of the pieces, and that's okay, but I'm still going to cut out all of the papers just like I would any other kit. So I'm going to get them ready to be able to put on. Okay, so if you're pulling out of your stash, you're not going to have this luxury. Other quilt stores may not put it together the same way, but for the Stitch and Snip, who is a certified Judy Niemeyer shop, I am not a certified instructor, okay? But they put these stickers on your fabrics in those quilt kits that tell you exactly what you're going to be using. Okay, so my white is my binding. I have a lot of white in this one. And then it's going to tell me my B5, A01, B11, and B4. So I know that I need to use those, this fabric for those things. Okay, and then same with all of these colors. It's going to tell me exactly what I am using it for. Okay, so on this initial cactus, I have all of these are my AO1s. Okay, so it's going to tell me which one it is, AO1, AO8, AO2, whatever. Okay, so these were in order. So I have AO8 on 2 of them. Okay, because I have half with this and half with that. These are mixed. The rest of them are all one. So AO7, AO6, AO5, AO4, AO3, AO2, and then my white is my AO1. Okay, and so what I did when I got all of these is I just went ahead and I cut exactly what I needed from these, And then these are my extras, okay? And I just put my stickers back on here so that I knew exactly what color was what, and I didn't mix anything up. And then if I have a mistake, if I make a mistake, I've got a little bit to go back and be able to fix with, which I actually did make a mistake in my cutting, and I'll tell you about that here in a little bit and how to fix that, okay? So then I had all of my papers split up. It will tell you what bags to put things in, what we're doing. These are relatively simple. It's going to tell you exactly what you need. Okay, so I did have some extras. I'm going to skip over the white for a minute, and I'm going to go straight to my strips, my AO2 through my AO8. Okay. One thing that you have to remember is because I'm doing 3 of these, it's going to look a little bit different. And basically what ends up happening is I just have more strips of fabric. Okay, so instead of having 2 strips of fabric, I have 6 strips of fabric, okay, because I'm doing 3 times as much. So if we look at, I believe the red is AO2, okay? So I labeled all of my pieces, okay, with the color, the number that it's corresponding to, and the size so that I didn't get confused on anything, okay? And then what you want to do is you want to make sure that these are all right sides together, okay? Or right sides up, excuse me, right sides up, stacked, so that they're all in a line, okay? They're all in alignment. Nothing's off kilter, okay? And then what a trick that Anna at the Stitch and Snip has is to be able to hold these onto the fabric is you use painter's tape, okay? I have green frog tape here. Works just the same. You can do blue painter's tape. Doesn't really matter. Peels off really nicely, but it sticks when you need it. Okay, so you just put a little bit of painter's tape on the back of your pattern, okay, just like this. And I try to make sure that I am putting it in an area where I'm not going to cut, okay, so that I'm not cutting through that tape just because I don't want that gunk on my rotary cutter, okay? So I am putting this on just like that. And then I'm going to, following the instructions, okay, so I'm making it look just like this. So AO2, I've got my TLS number 3, which is what this guy is, and it'll show you right here. I have unit AO1, okay, and this is template layout sheet number 3. So it goes with my AO2, even though, you know, this is an AO2, not AO1, but it's the AO1 block that we're working on. Okay, now as you can see, what I'm cutting is much larger than what my piece is actually going to be. And this is not wanting to cooperate here. So I'm just trying to get this end smoothed out, keep all these guys in alignment, okay, with my template layout sheet. So one thing that the Stitch and Snip has done is they have actually shrunk these pieces just a little bit. With Judy's quilts and patterns, you don't have to be super exact with your measurements on the initial cutting of your strips and cutting of your pieces, okay? They generally oversize them a little bit so that we have room to wiggle and work with, okay? But that ends up being a lot of waste. So what Stitch and Snip has done is that they have reduced it by about 1/4 to 1/2 inch for what they're requiring. It just means we don't have as much waste on the outside, and that's okay. That can be a good thing. So we're not wasting as much fabric. All right, so now I have my pieces set up, Okay, and now I'm ready to cut these. Now, what I want to do is I'm cutting on the outside line, okay, and then I'm going to cut them apart once I have this done. Okay, so I'm going to cut just like that. I don't have to cut here. I don't have to make sure that that is exact, okay, because my piece is about the same width as my pattern, okay. And then you can see I went over my selvage here because this is going to end up getting cut off anyway, so it's not that big of a deal, but I am going to cut most of that selvage off. Just like that, okay, and then that gets thrown away. Or do whatever crafty thing you can do with it, doesn't matter. Okay, so then I'm gonna turn it so that I can cut these two pieces apart, all right? And I wanna make sure that I'm cutting on the cut line, not on dotted lines or this internal line. And so I'm just gonna line this up here. And I do have 6 layers here, so I have to press relatively hard. If you get a use your bigger rotary cutter, then you can actually do like 12 and 16 if you feel like you have that kind of strength to be able to cut through that many layers. Okay, so in this I need a new blade. Make sure that I've cut through all those layers. Okay. So now I have that, and I can take a paper clip, okay, and paper clip these together, and then they're all gonna be the same. So I could do a big clip, you can do a binder clip or something like that, and you can paper clip those, binder clip those together. You can use just your regular like quilting clips, okay. It doesn't really matter how you want to hold these together. And then you can put these back in the bag while we do everything else, okay? So I'm going to finish off this red here. Now, this end, I did not cut super close. I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to cut this again. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit extra. I could have moved this closer. Again, doesn't really matter. I'm going to make sure that it is lined up a little bit better on this end for when I cut these apart. Okay, and then this is going to be my extra red, and then I can use that if I make a mistake and need to cut a new piece. Sometimes when we, are putting things together, we accidentally cut on the wrong line, and so we have to redo that piece. And a lot of times we can redo a piece without making this whole piece. So even if it's not that long, I can still make that piece with a shorter section of fabric. So then I'm just going to cut along this cut line. Again, if it's not 100% perfect, it's not the end of the world, okay? I want to make sure that I'm doing as good as possible, but there's some wiggle room with these Judy quilts, especially when we're just cutting our pieces out. We want to make sure that we've got enough, though, and we're not skimping, because we don't want holes in our quilt. Okay, so I'm going to do that for all the rest of my strips and have that. So I'm not going to cut them all right now for you. I am just going to show you our templates and kind of how that looks. Okay, so even though I cut 3 of each of these pieces of paper, because I have more strips, I don't have to use that third piece because a lot of these are not long enough for 3 templates. Okay, I'm just doing 2. I'm making sure that I have the appropriate number of strips that I need, okay, to be able to make the appropriate number of pieces so that I get 24, which is what I need. Okay, so this one, they're a little bit longer, but it's skinnier. Okay, so I don't have room for that third piece, but I'll cut those out just the same. And this is, so my pumpkin is AO3, and I'm using template layout sheet number 4, just like it says in the instructions, fabric AO3, template layout sheet number 4. And it gives you the diagram of how to lay everything out. Again, making sure that we've got right sides up so that we get the right color in the right place. Okay, yellow, same thing. Okay, we are using, this is AO4, okay, and we're using template layout sheet number 5 for that unit AO1, okay, and then we have fabric AO5, which is going to be my green. We're using template layout sheet number 6. Fabric AO6, which is going to be my blue. This is actually kind of a teal color, is going to have template layout sheet number 7. AO7, so our fabric number and our template layout sheet is one off. They're not the same. So make sure that you're not just assuming that template layout sheet goes with fabric 7. Okay, so fabric AO7 goes with template sheet number 8. That's going to be blue. And then fabric AO8 has template layout sheet number 9. I'm going to show you this real quick. So these have 2 different colors. So what I did was, before I put my layout sheets on there, I stacked these right sides up and I just combined these 2 colors into one pile. And then for this one, in order to get the number of units that I needed, I do have 3 template layout sheets. So this is template layout sheet number 9 for fabric AO8. I do have 2 different colors. I'm going to make half with one color, half with the other color. Okay, but I'm going to cut everything out just the same there. Okay, let's talk about our white fabric real quick. We have these big guys, okay, that are much bigger than our strips that we're going to do for this. So same thing. I'm going to put our painter's tape on the back of these, and I'm making sure that my painter's tape does not go over cut lines when possible. Okay, in fact, this one I need to move just a little bit. If I do cut through it, it's not the end of the world, but I would rather not. Okay, so trying to make sure that I have adjusted for that. Okay, and then we have 20-inch wide pieces of white. Okay, again, stacking right sides up. So what I did is, when I was cutting on my mat, I was a little distracted. I had my 0 point actually at my 1, and I was going to cut at 21. Forgot about that, cut at 20. So now I only have a 19-inch piece. Because Stitch and Snip, actually I have 2 of those because I was cutting 2 at once. So because Stitch and Snip has decreased the amount that we're cutting, because if you look, it says cut 4 10 1/4 strips. So they had you cut 2 for each one of these, so a total of 6 20-inch strips. So it would have been 20.5-inch strips. Okay, I don't have enough to kind of make that up. All right, so what I'm gonna have to do, so there's 2 ways to fix it. Number 1, what I can do is I can just cut new fabric. Okay, I have a bunch of the white. The white is going to be my binding, so I could take my messed up pieces and use those for the binding, and then take my excess and cut 2 new ones for this purpose, which is what I'm going to end up doing. The other thing that I could do is I could cut a couple of 2-inch strips, okay, sew it on to my short strips, my 19-inch strips, and then cut it. And what that's going to do is it's going to create an extra seam in a few of these pieces, which would not be the end of the world. Okay, so the way that these are going to go on is like this. I don't know. the right ones here. This one. So they're gonna go on like this, okay? So I have to have enough width here in order to do that. And where I don't have as much width, I can, you know, make sure that this is coming up real close, and I can use that same line there, but I still have to have a certain amount of space, and I just don't have that. Okay, so probably what I'm going to do is go ahead and recut. If you don't have enough to recut, you don't want to go buy more fabric, or your fabric is out of stock, is I can just cut an extra 2-inch strip, sew that on there. Yes, it's a little extra fabric. Yes, I'm going to have a little extra seam right there, but it's generally not a big deal. I can make that work. Okay, same thing for these guys. I'm going to lay this out on my fabric, okay, making sure that I can get all the templates on following their template pattern. So we're doing this here, okay? So I have 2 different template layout sheets. I have template layout sheet number 1 and I have number 2. So I have to be able to get enough for both of those on that, and I don't want to mess that up. So you're only going to have 3 template layout sheets. Okay, but it's showing 4 here. You only have 3 because you have 3 patterns. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to lay these 2 out, cut here, flip them around, lay them out, okay, and then combine those 2 to cut, okay? And I will put that in another video because that is going to take a little bit more to be able to show you guys how to do it. But this at least gets you started with this, and my next video will be about how to cut the white fabrics for that AO1. I hope this helps you. I hope you enjoy this quilt. I'm really looking forward to having this one done and being able to play a little bit with the quilting in the negative space. And I hope you get to do the same. Happy quilting.